Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Nurse Melissa and I'm a registered nurse. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to leave a job the right way. I just left my last job. I was working full-time, but I submitted a resignation. They asked me to stay on PRN, which is a testament to how amicable the split was. Staying on PRN means as needed. So I'll still be working there maybe 1 or 2 days every other month here or there. But for the most part, I did leave my last job. And this was actually not my first time leaving my last organization. I started with the company about 7 years ago. Things turned kind of sour and I left. But even though things were kind of sour on my end, I still took all the right steps to leave the organization the right way. And that opened up doors for me in the future to come back. So I finished out my last year of nursing school while working a very flexible schedule at my last job. And now that I'm starting my first nursing job, I'm still able to stay on PRN, which is as needed. So if I want to make some extra money here or there, I have the ability to do that. And that is all because every time I left the organization, which is twice now, I left the right way. And if you are watching this video and you do not care about your company at all, you know that you would never in a million years for any amount of money return, it's still good to leave a position the right way, even just to protect yourself, even if it has nothing to do with the organization. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over the steps that you should take when you are leaving a job to either protect yourself or if you care about the organization, to make sure that you are leaving in good standing and with a good reputation. So the first thing you should do is to make sure that you give enough notice. You can read through your employee's handbook or just ask HR to see how much notice you have to give before leaving your position. And my last organization, I know that you had to give at least 2 weeks notice for like a regular frontline employee. If you were a director, you needed to give at least 1 month's notice. So the first time I left my organization, I was in a leadership position and I made sure to give a little bit over 1 month's notice. I think I gave like 35 days notice, which was enough time. And then this time when I left, I made sure that I gave at least 2 weeks notice. Really, I gave a couple of months, but I was only obligated to give a couple of weeks. And the reason for doing this is that nowadays, a lot of companies will put you as a do not rehire if you do not give enough notice. And they can also give you a bad review or a bad reference check if a future employer ever reaches out to HR to ask about your employment status at their organization. Now, the second item, which I think is even more important than the first item, it is extremely important, and it is to be mindful of the company that you work for. And I mean that by so many things, but most importantly, even if you go ahead and do what you're supposed to do by putting in 2 weeks notice or a month notice, some companies will go ahead and just fire you on the spot after you submit your resignation. While that sounds awful, the truth is that it does happen, probably more often than you would think. But whenever this does happen, it's rarely out of the blue. It's very rare that a company or that an employer is just this upstanding person and they're morally sound and then they would turn around and do something like that. So you can kind of see it coming. Look at how other employees were treated when they submitted their resignation. Did they submit their resignation and then there was some type of retaliation? Were they bullied until they quit sooner, or were they just fired on the spot? If any of those things happen, you need to be realistic and you need to move accordingly when you're making your plans to resign. Number 3 kind of goes in tune with number 2, but that is to get your ducks in a row outside of work. So even before you submit your resignation, make sure that you have everything lined up outside of work in your personal life that you need to have lined up. Your finances are a big thing, especially if you do not have a job lined up. So if you're resigning and you do not have a new job to go to yet, and there's going to be a gap of employment, make sure that you have, I would say, at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses saved up so that if it takes you a while to find a new job, you will still be able to cover your bills and be able to feed yourself and your family. Even if you do have a new job lined up and you're not starting the new job until after you finish at your current job that you're going to resign from, make sure that you have money saved up, because sometimes it may take about a month to get your direct deposit or to get your paycheck set up. So you may not get paid that very first pay period that you start your new job. It may take either 2 to 4 weeks to actually get a paycheck. So make sure that you have money to pay all of your bills and your living expenses until your next paycheck can come. Number 4 is to get your ducks in a row inside of work. If you know that you are going to be resigning soon and you are in the middle of a project, slowly start to transfer some of your work onto your coworkers, or casually start to show people how to do your job, especially if you're the only one that knows how to do certain tasks. Of course, this item is only if you actually care about the organization and you want to make sure that they succeed, or at the very least your coworkers are able to succeed without you. If you are not in a position where you care how your organization fares, or you care how your coworkers fare after you leave, then of course you can skip over this step, but at least make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row for yourself. So if there is any intellectual work that you have ownership over, so any projects that you have done that you have spearheaded and you want to make sure that you maintain all of those documents, make sure that you have a backup copy, if it is legal for you to do so, on your own computer, so that when you leave, you do not lose access to all of the work that you created. Make sure that you have a backup copy in your personal computer if you have a right to it, and if you want to make sure that you have it for the future. And this is because, again, it goes back to knowing your employer and knowing your company. Some companies, when you submit a resignation, they will lock you out of everything. So you lose access to all of your files and everything that you want to have. So make sure that you already have it before you resign. Now, the next item is one that I feel like people kind of forget about all the time because they're so focused on leaving, especially if they're leaving because they're upset at something. But before you submit your resignation, make sure that you take care of yourself. And what I mean by this is call up HR or look at your company's policy and figure out when your insurance coverage ends. So for a lot of people, the insurance coverage will end at the end of the month. For a lot of people, insurance coverage ends the last day that you're working for that company. So call up HR and make sure you know what your benefits are and when they end. And before you resign, make sure that you are up to date on absolutely everything. Make sure you go to the doctor. Make sure you go to your GP, your primary care physician, go to the eye doctor, go to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, go to the dentist, go to the gynecologist. All of your appointments, make sure that you are up to date on them when you resign, because if you are starting a new job, so even if you're leaving your current position and you're going to a new job, nowadays insurance coverage does not kick in right away. It is very common to have to wait 30 to up to 90 days, I think depending on the state that you're in, before insurance benefits kick in. So it would be really unfortunate if you lose your insurance coverage and then you're waiting 3 months until you're covered by insurance again, and something happens in that 3-month span that costs tens of thousands of dollars that you are now responsible for paying out of pocket. And then the final thing is, do not ever bash your previous organization online. If you want to call up your girlfriends and go out to wine, or you want to call up your family or friend, you can bash your company to them behind closed doors. You can bash your direct supervisor. Never take it online. And if you do take it online because you are not listening to my advice, make sure that you do not name the organization or name any of your coworkers by name. And again, even if you are leaving with bad blood or because something happened and you are angry, eventually that anger will dissipate and you will probably regret doing that. And even if you don't think that you're going to regret doing that because you do not care, you never know whose path you're going to cross in the future. You may reach out to a future employer who is somehow connected to your previous organization or somehow connected to people at your previous organization, especially if you're staying in the same field. Or even if you work in the restaurant industry and now you're going into nursing, it is a small world. You would be surprised how people are connected. And you never want to put anything online or put anything in a public forum that you cannot take back and that looks bad on you. Because ultimately, even if you think that you're trashing the employer, it is a reflection of you. And it's a red flag to future employers that if you don't like something that happens in their organization, instead of dealing with it internally, you're going to take it online. And that it is a reason to not hire you in the future. So these were just a few quick tips on how to leave an organization or to quit a job the right way. If you have any other tips or any questions, please comment down below. Please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.